The BA Balis Nakiri is a Balisong of which I have many thoughts. I am going to do a sort of two parts. At first, I was thinking about having a separate video, but I think that would just make him even more upset. So the first part of this video is just going to be me reviewing this Balisong in a void, as if I just found it somewhere, and I just talk about the Balisong and what I know about it. And then the second part is going to be talking about my problems with Blake. He's not going to like this, but this is for your sake because I think you'd be even more upset if I just had a video straight about you. Anyways, let's talk about the Nakiri. Nakiri is I literally just weighed it, and I'm going to weigh it again. It's like 4.2, I think. Nope, 4.3. Good thing I double checked. Goldfish memory right here. It is a cleaver style blade. It comes in a 3D printed case. It has hexagons everywhere. This is inspired by Machine Wise. There are hexagons on the blades here as well as the handles. It's a very cohesive design. The logo, I think the logo looks nice too. That's an improvement from his previous design. I think it looks really nice. These spacers are interesting because the spacers, it's a Chandwich design, but it comes with spacers that you don't need to disassemble the entire knife. This is a design element that I do appreciate. I find that as much as I love machine-wise knives, to change out weights can be a whole thing. And there are definitely other knives where I was like fucking around with the weight system, and it can be just a pain in the ass to disassemble the entire knife because you can kind of get away with maybe like just trying to pry it out a little bit, but that's probably not healthy for the knives at the pivot area. And so thankfully you just need to pop out the sex bolt and you can slot in a weight. These are 3D printed weights. They are neutral and makes the balance neutral. I appreciate that. No weights is blade bias. This is actually something that I have advocated for. Blake has the same philosophy on that. For me, that is cool. There are also two other sets of weights that are metal. One of these is shorter than the others, as you can tell. The longer ones are heavier. It's hard to hold like this, but yeah, the longer ones are heavier, not too surprisingly. These are probably more akin to the shorter ones. They're probably more akin to like I was gonna say like the brass, like the medium brass weights in for the Serif, but honestly, I don't even know if I think that. Mostly, I find it just to be a little bit more handle biased than I prefer, and then of course, I didn't even bother with the heaviest ones just because that is far too handle biased. So it's a new day, and this is an update, but it turns out that the weights in the Nakiri that I used, the 3D printed ones, are not part of the Nakiri package. Cream Soda did not let me know until after I already returned it, and Blake did not correct me when he was thanking me for covering the weight system that Blade Bias so quickly brushed over, is that the 3D printed weights were Cream Soda's friend who made them, and that friend's not even in the community, so it's not like you can ask them unless you know that mutual friend, which I don't. The 3D printed weights are a copy of the large weights, and both of the metal weights are made of steel. And the largest one is 0.18 ounces, the small metal weight is 0.111 ounces, and then the plastic one is 0.02. And that might seem like so light that like why even bother, but unfortunately with no weights it is blade bias. This is something that I said that Blake and I agreed on. A Balisong that has a weight system, no weights should be blade bias because some people legitimately do prefer that. And then that way you could theoretically fine tune it to find the balance profile that you like. With the stitch, I was saying to bandage knives that like, oh, if no weights is like blade bias, then I could like add tungsten balls to get that perfect neutral feel that I want. With enough momentum at the end, and it would be perfect. Unfortunately, the Nakiri doesn't actually have that. You only have three options, and if you want a neutral balance, you have to either find someone to 3D print one for you. But yeah, right now you only have blade bias, handle bias, and really handle bias. So it's a shame. I wish that that was an option, and frankly, I think it's kind of I don't blame Ethan for brushing over. He said that I couldn't really find a balance. I couldn't lock it into something I want. With only 3 options, yeah, there's nothing else that you can do. You can't like fine tune each weight like how you can with Zippies. So yeah, I don't blame Ethan for just brushing over it, because if you want the best flipping experience, my personal favorite flipping experience, you need to have something custom made for you. And that's very frustrating, and honestly, like, just another frustration with the Nakiri. So yeah, this is a legitimate critique that I think, and Blake can get all huffy about me critiquing the Nakiri, but like, so many people nowadays prefer neutral. And not to say that neutral or handle bias, one is better than the other, or one is more correct or whatever. It's just a preference. And if you're not catering, the whole point of a weight system is to cater to multiple people. And if you're not catering to all the people that want neutral, then I don't know what you're doing. And apparently Cream Soda told Blake that, hey, you should include 3D printed ones, and he said nah. So yeah, I don't know. Unless he ends up deciding to make plastic weights, or Zippy steps in and makes plastic weights, then yeah, unfortunately, tough luck. The Nakiri is just not a. It's just, it doesn't have a balance profile that is for me, and that's very frustrating. So just another thing to add on the laundry list of things that frustrate me about the Nakiri, and how goddamn close it is to being amazing. And unfortunately, one of those biggest things is just you can't get the weight profile unless you pay someone else to do it custom for you. How's the tune on this? The tune is pretty good. Just a teeny amount of play. It's possible theoretically to tune it even further. It's got some good bounce. I will say I still don't know why this was nominated for Best Sound for the Bally Awards. This was also supposed to be claimed to be better than the Nami. I don't know if I should get into that now, but I guess I will for a little bit, because frankly, I don't really feel any similarities with the Nami. The Nami is, well, the Tsunami by Squid Trainers is, or by Squid Industries, I should say, is a very minimalistic design. It is very smooth. I think there's a little bit of texture on the faces, but it's like a very subtle kind of texture. And the blade is, well, it's not a cleaver. It's also 4 ounces flat, so this is 0.2 ounces heavier. That might not seem like a lot when you just hear it, but if you know weight, it's a significant weight difference. It's not like a huge difference, but it's a noticeable difference. You can tell between 4 ounces and 4.2 ounces. As you can see, though, this texture is aggressive, incredibly aggressive. Very much not like the Nami. So yeah. As now, I will say also the spacers, all of the metal ones and the plastic ones do flush with the jimping. That's nice as well. And flipping wise, I really enjoy it. It's neutral. It's 4.2 ounces. I think the design is unique. I think it's got some good character to it. It's got a lot of cohesive design elements. I think the hexagons, you know, the consistency of that, like, I can tell there's a lot of thought put into this design. It flips well. It is to my preferences. And I basically can make it do whatever I want it to do. Well, I'll get to that, why I couldn't. There's like, why I am botching things, I will get to very, very soon. And you probably know. You know what? Maybe I'll just explain it now. The texture is fucking insanity. This is not tumbled. It is literally painful. It is literally painful to flip a Nakiri that is not tumbled. Maybe if you have rougher hands than me, or you are just whatever. I have literal medication that makes my skin softer, which also means it is more sensitive to incredibly coarse textures. This is one of those. Now, I will say that previously I talked to Blake about Cream Soda not liking this. I think Cream Soda still stands by that. His initial assessment was that it was unacceptable, especially that in the first run, if you wanted a raw Nakiri, normally raw means no ano. In this case, raw meant machine raw. No extra tumbling or finishing. Cream Soda said that was unacceptable. I agree. However, cream soda likes how aggressive this is. So that's a little weird. But whatever floats your boat, man. All in all, I think the Nakiri is a good Balisong. For $480, you can get this. However, if you were to get a raw, unfinished, machine raw Balisong. Now, I will say in the past, in the previous video, I said, no one wants raw machine finish. And some people are like, oh, well, what about this knife? And then I said, okay, sure, that knife. But again, look at all of these fucking corners. This jimping is coarse. This entire face is coarse. Every fucking edge is coarse. It is all coarse. Running your thumb down the corner of this, it's not pleasant. It's actually like a file. So unless you're the one person I know that actually likes that, this could probably legitimately file something, softer than titanium at the very least. Yeah. This blade is unsharpened. That's how I would prefer it, but you could probably get it sharpened. And yeah, so $480 if you got this and then you were to get it raw and then take it to someone else to mod, it's a good deal. It is a good deal. And I think I'm going to try and find one in the secondhand market. Some people have been trying to sell it for over retail, which I certainly don't agree with, especially if it's had any damage. But let's get into, Blake and I have talked. Blake of BA Balis. It's his initials. Blake thinks that I have slammed on the Nakiri because he did not send me a unit to review. I think the thought of that is kind of insane to me because, listen, I've asked makers, hey, would you be willing to send me a knife for review? And, not all of them do. Some of them actually have, which I'm really thankful for. But I'm not such a shallow person to be like, oh, because you didn't send me one to review, I'm going to slam this. I also previously reviewed his breakdown board, which I might legitimately be the only person to own, and he was frankly really defensive about that. I compared it to the what's it called? The Bali spindle, and I don't know why he just got so insulted. I have also reviewed, actually forgot to have done a full review of the Segaiha, but I will do that after this, and all of my thoughts I can refer back to this video, and I'll probably mark it in the video. So Blake and I have talked, and there's a lot of things that are frustrating. For the most part, I love his products. I love his knives, at least. I think his breakdown board could have used other iterations, and then he abandoned the project and whatever. So basically, here's the thing. He charges $70 for a finish, which also includes just tumbling. This is absurd. This is quite truly absurd. I have talked to many flippers, many customers. I have had, when I made a bunch of stories because I was really frustrated. And what's frustrating? The biggest frustration is I would love this. I legitimately would love this Balisong if it had a nice, if it was finished. And he has explained for the second run, he's only done 2 runs, and he might only do 2 runs, he might come back to it, but he explained that the second run, at least, if you want it raw, it's going to be a raw machine finish, and he basically suggests to pay for a finish. But it just feels absolutely absurd to say, because I don't have a $4,000 tumbler and I can't tumble many things at once, I can't justify the cost. Anyone that owns a tumbler, I think, would be aghast to know that it's $70 for a fucking tumble. Some people have offered to tumble for free. I like cream soda know that. Multiple people, in fact, have. Makers, I'm not going to name names, but basically, I've talked to many makers. Unsurprisingly, I've talked to many makers. I have a whole fucking podcast where I interview makers, and I just talk to them here and there. And a lot of people just don't agree with a lot of how he runs his business. And that's the biggest issue for me. The biggest issue is not that the knife is bad. In fact, the knife is great. The biggest issue is just the business behind it. Now, this Balisong, the Nakiri, has been a vehicle for his mods. His mods are expensive. I don't think that's a controversial thing to say. If you don't know, there are other people who do very good mods. I can recommend Andrew Myers and Solar Flare. They do really great mod work for a much cheaper price. And I'm not saying this specifically to undermine Blake. I'm saying this because some people just don't know. If there's anything that Blake does well, if there's anything Blake does better than anyone else, his marketing is on point. He is really good at uploading things onto Instagram and showing off his really nice mod work, his different anos, his toxic anos, his lasering. But and yeah, he's really good at showing off. The video that was used to showcase this, I think it was Balisong Nerd. But the video for this was actually incredibly well produced. It was beautiful. And I was like, holy shit, I'm really hyped. But I also was like, I know this is a really hype generating video. I need to like mentally actively like pump the brakes. And a lot of, his pre-orders, I think both of them sold out. Definitely the first one sold out. So his marketing is amazing. His mod work is great. There are maybe some flaws here and there about anything. You could say that about anyone. But this Nakiri has basically been a vehicle for him to like sell his mod work on top of it. And I find that what's frustrating is just how Blake one arguably overprices. Again, as a freelancer, I understand that the cost of living, you gotta pay to afford your own things, but he also just charges significantly more than basically anyone else, and essentially he doesn't take criticism at all. We've talked about the machining, about the tumbling, and it basically just goes in circles. He basically gives an excuse as to why he cannot justify charging less than $70 for a tumble. And I go, okay, that is an answer. It's just not a good one. And he kind of just sticks to his guns about things. It's just so frustrating. I know that also in the past with the Saigaha, I think the live blade Saigaha was $800. And I heard that like some of the channels were off and people were like, this is absurd that this knife is so expensive. And it's like kind of the machining's fucked up. And he just kind of goes like, oh, like how often do you look at it? That's not really a good response. And the person's like, I look at it $800 worth amount of it being like, it's fucked up, man. And so like, what's frustrating is Blake just, one, doesn't really take criticism, two, doesn't really like, I don't like his customer service. He just kind of writes things off and tries to just blow things over when people complain, and it's just not a good look. It's not a good fucking business function. There are lots of makers who have, like, Paul offered to tune my Zyzix for free. It was a first run. I bought it secondhand even, and Paul was like, yeah, just send it in. I've gotten better at tuning, and like the tune was pretty good, but it could have been better. And so I sent it in, and he just shipped it back to me for free with a tune. And that, like, I know that Paul says if I could make the Zyzix cost less than like $900 to $1,000, I would. But like, in order to get it to be the quality it is, he has to go through jeweling. And he adds value through his leather work and the woodworking. Like, he adds value to where he can. I've talked to A51 who lives near me, and my friend pointed out, like, hey, your Phobos actually slaps. The blade hits the channel, and I was like, holy shit, I didn't notice. He's like, oh yeah, actually, like the first like 30 or so of the Phobos had this problem, which I fixed. And he's like, just send it to me and I'll fix it to you for free. And I go, great, cool, thanks. Sometimes makers have something that is a little off or whatever, and you just kind of have to, accept that there can be things that go wrong. Sometimes even not even your fault. I believe my friend is still owed a calico because the calico is straight up just warped. It's just like bent. And that might not have been Tay's fault, but like, it's still Tay's responsibility to like fulfill this order. You paid for this Balisong. You got a product that was unacceptable. I'm going to fix it for you somehow. And in the case of 3D printing, he probably just needs to send a new one. But sometimes people will, ship back metal Balisongs and they get a fix. Like, oh, there's just some fucking weirdness with it. I talked to NRB on the podcast, and there was so much breakage when he had a run of Koenigs and it was just 5 months slow and just completely unacceptable work. Like some of the bushing holes were just too big, and he basically just had to cut his losses. I just find it really frustrating that basically Blake doesn't take, he just kind of gives excuses for when things are like bad. Like literally, like if you were a first customer and you're like, hey, I ordered this raw, I didn't know it was going to be machine raw. That's kind of like insane, and like this is uncomfortable as fuck. And a lot of people have sold their Nakiris that were raw because it's just not fucking comfortable. And instead of fixing it for them, he's like, oh, I'll if you buy my fucking thing. And he's like, oh, it's $70 shipped, so I lose $10 on shipping. Like, big fucking whoop, dude. Whatever, man. Like, a lot of places will charge like the $5 to $10 for shipping, but no one's gonna bat an eye. Frankly, I just think you should have just said it was $580 to begin with, and then no one would have really like lost their shit over it. But to be like, oh, I found a cheaper manufacturer in China, and then I'm just going to like upcharge a bunch for things. The fact is, well, this isn't a fact, but the I think that overwhelming opinion is that it feels, there's no doubt that there's passion in this project. I can tell that he spent a lot of time designing this. I can tell that he cares a lot about this product. I think it's a very good product. I don't think it's like a Tsunami, and I think to say it's better than Tsunami, it's a preference thing. But the thing is, it just feels like it's a vehicle for him to make money. And yeah, every business is a vehicle to make money, but when it feels like it's not, it doesn't feel like he's doing this for the sake of like making something cool and for people to love something. It feels more like, I'm gonna make this Balisong inexpensive so that I can charge a lot of work for mods. It just, honestly, it just feels like a scheme to get money, and that sucks because this is a good knife. His mod work is good. It just feels fucking inauthentic and shit, and he just doesn't take ownership of when things go wrong. That's frustrating as fuck. I could honestly go more into other things that I find frustrating, but the fact of the matter is, the biggest thing that's basically preventing me from buying this in a future run, if he does, is that I just don't trust that he's going to make things right, that if things do go wrong. I feel like as a customer, I don't necessarily trust for him to like fulfill any issues if things happen. Almost every other Balisong maker does something. I had 2 fucking EX11s and the hardware was completely stripped somehow, and I wanted to basically just swap the blades of them, and Jeff Duma was like, yeah, I'll just like, yeah, you can just send it to me. I'll fix it for free. You can pay for the hardware. And I go, yeah, okay, that works. Yeah, sure. I'll pay for the hardware. I don't give a shit. But he did the free labor, and he fixed it. It was great. It was a perfect tune. So I don't know. It frustrates me how everything is so nickel and dimed, and a lot of Balisongs. It's a very niche hobby. It's a lot of it is on goodwill, and I don't know. I don't trust him. And I know you're going to see this video. I know you're going to get pissed at me, but also we've talked about this. So like, I don't know. The thing is, here's the thing, bud. You can do things your own way. And you can stand your ground on it, and you will stand your ground on it because I know that you will. But if people are going to complain, you can't have your cake and eat it too. If I'm going to criticize you on a thing, which again, I think I have been more than fair in which I don't shit on things for the sake of shitting on things. Even the garbage Balisongs that I flipped from Amazon, I still find the positivity of. But if you're going to get upset that people will criticize you for it, fucking get over it. You're going to get criticized no matter what. Not everyone's going to find your product perfect, even if you find your product perfect. Some people are going to have some different thoughts. They might just disagree with you, and that's one thing. But also, if people don't like how you run your business, if you find like as a customer, I don't trust that you will fulfill things if things go wrong, you can't get mad at me for feeling that way when you haven't changed anything to do anything about that. If I felt that if I didn't trust, and again, I'm bringing up Paul again because I trust Paul. I trust a lot of the people that I buy knives from. I trust them, especially the people I've done interview with. I trust them, and they give me really, there's just a lot of history, and there's a lot of love, and there's a lot of care. And when things aren't right, they want to make things right. Sometimes even when things aren't the maker's fault, or things are just like so slightly off, it's still in your best interest to have good customer service to do things. And frankly speaking, you haven't done that. So if you're gonna get pissed off at this video, then fucking change how you run your business, or just own it. If you're gonna have your business be a certain way, own it. Then just work through the fucking complaints, but don't get all pissed off, and don't blame me for thinking that I'm trying to slam you for it. I legitimately, if you were as easy to work with as any other Balisong maker, of which I have talked to many, of which I have worked with many, I will change my tune the moment you change yours. If you are gonna step up your customer service, and you're going to own your fucking mistakes, and you're gonna own when things go wrong, I will be the first person to say it. I legitimately will be, because I am on the edge of my seat waiting for things to become smoother and better and easier to interact with as a customer. And I want your products to be amazing, and they're so close. They're so fucking close. But I don't know. I like don't even think that none of us realize that this isn't kind of like a vehicle for you to sell your mod work for an exorbitant price. And you can charge your exorbitant prices. You can. No one's stopping you. But know that when you say that it's $80 or $70 for a tumble, like, you can't get mad when everyone, like, is aghast at that. Own it. Just fucking own it, dude. So, yeah, I thought about having that as a separate video, but frankly, I think that would have just been really, really rude, because then I would have been like, here's the Nakiri. I'm going to have a complete video where I complain about Blake. Unfortunately, I feel like as a customer, it is in my right to... Actually, I'm not even a customer for this product. This is a borrow product. I actually specifically did not buy a Nakiri because I was worried something would go wrong, and then it kind of did. So, like, that's why I didn't buy a Nakiri straight up. I was like, it's probably going to be good, but also because he's just... A lot of times he just kind of oversells things, and he uses whatever vehicles and whatever things that, like, I asked, he's like, oh, all these people said amazing things about this product. And I asked one of them, because I kind of know one of them, and he did have really great flippers. I asked them, and they're like, it's good. I don't really remember, but I like it. And I go, okay. As like, they couldn't tell me more. I'm not going to say who it was, but like, I don't know. Like, trust me, I've done my fucking due diligence. I care a lot about this hobby. I care a lot about this, and I want to love this. I really do. I'm so close to. So, I don't know. It's just really frustrating. Anyways, this is the Nakiri. I'm going to review the Segaiha next, and thankfully, I will not be talking about Blake and all the things. I'm getting this out of my system now. So, if you're mad at me, Blake, well, you have options. You can do something about it. But I don't know. It's within my right as a customer of yours at one point, and I have bought stuff from you directly, and I do own one of your knives, that I am allowed to say things that I think other buyers should be aware of. You know, I can leave a fucking Yelp review, and if you don't like it, then fucking deal with it or fix it. So yeah. Anyways, thanks again to Cream Soda for lending me these knives. Have a good flipping, and if you like these videos, give it a like. If you feel like I'm hard or I'm harsh or whatever, or you feel like this is unnecessary, legitimately leave this in a comment. Like, if you feel like this is completely unnecessary and I should not do stuff like this, then I won't. Just let me know in the comments, subscribe, like, donate coffee money so I can ship back. And thanks. Happy flipping. This has been the Nakiri by B.A. Balis, and god fucking damn, it is so fucking close to being something I love and being something that I want. Like, legit, if I can find one for a good price, I will, and then I will send it to someone else to tumble it for free.